You shouldn't be standing in this. Please, get in! He almost didn't stop. Caden Pruitt was already 20 minutes late getting back to the shop. His truck smelled like motor oil and old coffee, and the rain was the kind that arrives sideways and means it. But the woman standing at the bus stop was somewhere past 70. Her umbrella had turned completely inside out, and she was holding it anyway, with a dignity that struck him as both heartbreaking and quietly magnificent. She looked at him through the passenger window. I don't want to be any trouble. You're standing in a storm, Caden said. That's not trouble. That's just a fact. Come on. She got in slowly, carefully, the way people do when their body has started requiring negotiation. She smelled faintly of lavender and something warmer, cedar maybe. She held her ruined umbrella on her lap like she wasn't quite ready to give up on it. Caden Pruitt, he said, pulling back onto the road. Dolores Wynn, she said. Then after a pause, you have kind eyes. My late husband had kind eyes. I always trusted them before anything else. Caden didn't know what to say to that, so he just drove. He was 33 years old and had worked at Kelton Auto, a small independent repair shop on the east side, since he was 19. He hadn't planned on staying 14 years, but the owner had needed help, and then needed more help, and then gotten sick. And Caden had simply never found a reason to leave that felt stronger than the reasons to stay. He was good with engines in the way some people are good with languages, naturally, without having to translate. He lived alone in a rented house with a yard he kept neat, because it was the only thing he fully controlled. He had no particular complaints about his life. But some evenings, sitting on the porch after a long shift, he was aware of a quiet in the house that had a shape to it. He dropped Dolores at a quiet street in a neighborhood he didn't know well. A modest house, not large, but well kept, with window boxes that still had flowers despite the season. Thank you, Caden, she said at the door. Truly. Anyone would have stopped, he said. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. No, she said gently. They wouldn't have. He didn't think about it again. Not right away. 3 weeks later, a woman came into Kelton Auto, late 20s, focused eyes, the kind of composed that takes practice. She asked for Caden specifically. Her name was Sable Wynn, 25 years old. Dolores's daughter. My mother talked about you, she said, standing by the front counter. More than once, actually. Caden wiped his hands on a shop rag. She doing all right? Sable paused, just briefly. She passed. 2 weeks ago. It was her heart. She'd known for a while. The shop was quiet except for the radio in the back bay playing something low and unhurried. Caden set the rag down. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it with his whole chest. She left something for you, Sable said. That's why I'm here. What Dolores Wynn had left him was not at first comprehensible. Sable explained it in the small office at the back of the shop, sitting across from Caden at a desk covered in invoices and coffee rings. Dolores had founded Wynn Auto Service 31 years ago, a single-bay shop that she had quietly, methodically grown into a regional chain of 9 locations. She had never advertised her name. She had never sought recognition. Most people in the industry knew Wynn Auto the way you know a landmark. It was simply there, reliable, solid. Her daughter had worked beside her for 6 years, learning every part of it. Sable was already, by any reasonable measure, the person who would carry it forward. But Dolores had left the original location, the first one on Mercer Street, the one she'd built with a loan and a handshake, to Caden Pruitt. Sable slid the legal document across the desk. Caden read it twice. Then he looked up. I drove her home from a bus stop, he said. In the rain. I know. That's all I did. Sable looked at him steadily. She said you stopped when no one else did, that you didn't make her feel like a burden, that you talked to her like she was just a person. She paused. She said she'd been testing people for years, not formally, just watching what people do when they don't think it matters. Caden was quiet for a long moment. Outside, through the shop window, a car pulled into the lot and idled, waiting. She wanted someone who understood what that first shop meant, Sable continued. Not the business. The reason she started it. She used to say, A good mechanic doesn't just fix what's broken. They take care of what someone loves. He didn't accept it immediately. That felt important to him. Not to simply receive something that large without sitting with it. He asked for 2 weeks. Sable said that was fair. He drove to Mercer Street on a Thursday afternoon. The shop was closed temporarily, a sign on the door, the bays visible through the window, clean, organized, 3 lifts, good lighting. A framed photograph on the wall inside, visible through the glass. A younger Dolores, standing in front of a single-bay garage, grinning like she'd just won something. He stood on the sidewalk for a long time. He thought about the ruined umbrella she'd held with such dignity. About her saying kind eyes like it was the most practical thing in the world to notice. About 14 years at Kelton Auto and the quiet in his house that had a shape. He called Sable that evening. "I'll take it," he said. "But I want to do it right. I want to learn it the way she built it. Carefully." "I was hoping you'd say that," Sable said, "because I was going to offer to help." It took a year. Caden worked Kelton's final months, helped with the transition there, then moved to Mercer Street with the seriousness of someone who understands they've been handed something that matters. Sable came in twice a week at first, then more, walking him through the operational history, the staff relationships, the decisions her mother had made, and why. They worked well together in the specific way that people do when they're both paying attention to the same thing, the work itself, and the reason behind it. On the first anniversary of the reopening, Caden found a small envelope on the front desk. Inside, a note in Sable's handwriting. She would have liked this. "You're taking care of what she loved." He put it in the same drawer where he kept the original deed. That evening, closing up, he stood in the bay and looked at Dolores's photograph, moved now to the wall above the office door, where everyone who entered could see it. A woman who had built something with patience and principle, and chosen at the very end to pass it to a stranger who'd stopped in the rain. "I'll take care of it," he said quietly. To the photograph, to the empty shop, to whatever part of her was still listening, she had been a stranger in a storm. He had simply stopped. And that one unremarkable act of human decency, offered freely, without thought of return, had carried more weight than either of them could have imagined standing at a bus stop in the rain. Kindness doesn't require an audience. It only requires the willingness to stop. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.